简单问题应该还行。
Hello，欢迎来到赛后采访环节，我是主持人 Rich， 今天特别高兴能够欢迎 PSG 整队来到赛后采访。Hey guys, I'm Rich and I'm here with our newly crowned PCS Spring Split Champions plus MSI representatives PSG 春季冠军 PSG， 你们好。
Hello，
Congratulations on the win. You guys are Spring Split champions right now. How do you feel? 恭喜你们今天成功的赢下 PCS 春季决赛，可以先说一下现在的感受吗？
现在的感受就是基本上真的没想到会打到这么艰深，就是可能我们最近跟那些就是 LPL 团练或是那些越南团练，就是节奏打得太过快了。因为如果在训练赛的时候节奏不打快一点的话，是很快会 GG。所以变成是我做成是我在比赛里面可能也有些比较急的一些想法或是 call， 所以让我们前面可能出现爆炸，然后再加上打上 CFO 这种强队的话，那肯定是顶不住的，就是他们会不给我们任何抓到他们失误的机会。然后 J Team 的话，其实我感觉起来他们其实整队来说是变强了很多，比起我们在打那个季后赛，不是，比起我们在打那个常规赛，所以对，到你们。
所以现在感受？
现在感受是有点累，但很开心，还好是我们出去那个 MSI。
好 ，So he said that lately PSG has been playing a lot of scrims with a lot of the LPL teams. He said that when they play scrims versus the LPL teams, they have to play the game a lot faster because that's the LPL style and that's how they scrim. If you don't play a very fast-paced game, there's no way you can beat the LPL teams. So he said that the problem with that is that when they play back in the PCS, for example, when they play versus a strong team such as CFO and they try to go too over-aggressive early, CFO are able to punish their mistakes. So he said that's why, especially like today, that's what we saw. We saw them make those little slip ups here and there because they were too aggressive and they're too used to playing versus LPL. He said that he also thinks that J Team played a lot better this week in the last week of the playoffs, and he says that right now his feelings, he's very happy, but he's also very tired. He's very relieved that PSG is the team that goes to MSI. Thank you, KaiWing. My next question that I want to ask is, was the team nervous after dropping the first game today, especially because you're just coming off of the loss versus CFO on Thursday? Did you think history was going to repeat itself? 那今天就是掉了第一场之后，大家有没有觉得很紧张？尤其是周四刚刚输给了 CFO， 有没有导致到就大家今天变得更紧张呢？随便谁要回答，要不然我就开始 Q 人了。
火龙先吧。
Unified 吧。
火龙快
发言。
那肯定是紧张的，因为我们昨天差一点就输那个J Team了。只是如果我们昨天输了J Team就没有今天了。其实这是我自己有想过了，因为其实我们第一天输那个 CFO 最大的问题就是他们竟然拿出一个我觉得不可能的打法，但他们出现了，就是我重新去看一下他们打我们的 VOD， 我觉得他们是很针对下路，然后他们那个专门来，我看他基本上放弃他自己的发育，一直保下路，所以变成是我们对下路的进攻会受到影响，然后基本上他有很多的埋伏跟克法都做得蛮到位的，所以我觉得他们 CFO 打我们 PSG 的话研究的蛮透彻的，就是他们知道我们下路动不了，我不好游走的话，基本上那个游戏是可能比较难赢，但还好火龙的那个状态比较好一点，所以我们那个局面没有被拉得这么差，所以输完 CFO 的第一天之后，我觉得就是我们调整打法的话，再次打一下 CFO 其实是没有。
Apple.
So he said that of course, they were very nervous playing today and also losing that game number 1 because it was just yesterday where they nearly lost to J Team themselves. If they had lost to J Team yesterday, they would have been eliminated from the competition altogether. He said that he actually went back to look at the VODs of the PSG playing versus CFO on Thursday, and he said that he thinks that the CFO coaching team did a lot of research as to the way that they play. He said that one thing he noticed was that Gemini in particular particular, on Thursday, decided to just sacrifice a lot of his own personal farm to keep on going towards the bottom lane. So KaiWing said that he actually felt that he and Unified had a very tough time on Thursday versus CFO. He thinks that CFO did their research very well, and they had some very good strategies coming in, especially against PSG. But he said that they also did prep work themselves, and that they had confidence going into today that they could fix those mistakes. So I have to ask, tell us your honest thoughts. Did you guys expect to win today after the recent playoffs performance, especially as you mentioned, being so tired coming off of a best of 5 for yesterday and today? 那最近季后赛的表现就稍微不稳定，昨天跟今天加起来又打了一个标10。老实说，今天开赛之前有没有预测到 PSG 会赢呢？不要再KaiWing了吧，火龙好，请。
其实今天的比赛我本来觉得就比较难赢吧，就是我觉得对面前几天打我们的时候打得蛮好的，所以赢的就是蛮惊喜的。
So, Hanabi said that he's really happy that they won. He's also a bit relieved because he said that, they just lost to CFO recently, and he thinks that CFO has played really well this week. So he wasn't sure if they would be able to beat them, but the fact that they did beat them, he's pretty happy about that. Okay, great. So I'm going to move on to ask each of you some individual questions. I'm going to start with Hanabi. I wanted to ask you, I'm not sure if you remember about game number 2. The casters are talking about this play as well. At about 30 minutes in, the very last team fight where you just flashed onto the enemy jungler's face and won that fight for your team. What was your thinking at that point in time? 那首先想问给火龙，就是关于第2把大概30分钟，就是最后那一波远古巨龙，那时候你是直接闪现到哪个点上，然后又秒了他？那时候你的主意是什么呢？还有可以跟我们分享一下你的思考吗？
因为那时候就是他们开了远古龙嘛，然后 Unified 把他们打残，然后他们跟 AD 刚好又站在一起，就抓到这机会，然后闪现1，就他们如果没按出闪就会死，然后按出闪的话，他们也打不了这个团。
So he said that it was a point in time where CFO were starting the Elder Dragon, and he noticed that 2 of their team members were standing together in the same spot, and he thought that was a very good opportunity for him to flash onto them. He said that he felt that if he flashed onto them and their reflexes weren't fast enough to flash out from him, then they were definitely going to win the follow-up there, and you guys did. I wanted to ask next because yesterday, in yesterday's interview, you're very humble. You said that you would call yourself the number 2 top laner within the PCS. So I wanted to ask about today. Now that you're the Spring Split champion, can you finally say that you're PCS number 1 top laner? 昨天采访中你是说PCS 第一上路是 Red 选手，然后现在毕竟是赢了春季决赛，现在的话呢，能不能终于说自己是 PCS 的第一上路呢？
我觉得不是，我觉得今天就我的发挥也不是到特别好，所以我感觉可能还是他比较厉害吧，他还是第一上路。
能够评价一下今天 Rest 的表现吗？满分是10分的话，你给几分？
满分10分的话，我给他100分。太强了。
So Hanabi says that he actually still doesn't think that he's the best top laner within the PCS. He said that today especially he had a couple of mistakes in his performance, and he thinks that Rest played very well today. He said that if you're going to rate Rest out of 10, he would actually give Rest a 100-point mark. Next question that I also want to ask you is because I'm not sure if you caught this because we were in rehearsal just now, that the FMVP for today is going over to you. So I wanted to ask if you expected it was going to be you. What are your thoughts on that? Do you have any message that you want to say to your teammates? 那不知道火龙选手刚才有没有注意到？因为毕竟我们也是在彩排中，就是今天的 FMVP 其实是给了火龙选手，想问一下，就是感受如何呢？有没有料到会是你吗？还有没有什么跟队友想说的话呢？
就感觉今天的发挥其实没有到特别好啊，其实会拿到 MVP 其实算有点意外吧。
He said that he doesn't think that he performed very well today, and he said it's actually a bit of a personal surprise for him that he got the FMVP for today. All right, thank you so much, Hanabi. Next, we're going to go over to Juhan to ask you a couple of questions. 接下来是 Juhan 选手. 다음 Juhan 선수에게 질문 드리겠습니다. Can you introduce yourself? 可以自我介绍吗？
你是 PSG jungle喜欢？
자기소개 가능하신가요?
我 PSG 정글 주한.
可以。
네,
Then my next question, I want to ask, what are your thoughts right now after winning the finals? 现在的心情怎样？赢下决赛，感受会是如何呢？기분이 지금 기분이 어떠신가요?
So good. Very very good.
很好，
很好榨菜。
突然变成中文教学课了，感觉。好，那下一个问题想问的正好就是最近学到了什么中文呢？不可以秀一句中文吗？What Chinese have you learned recently? Can you say something in Chinese maybe? 중국어 좀 배우셨나요? 중국어로 한마디 가능하신다면 아무거나 한마디 부탁드려요.
OK，我们可以吃火龙，
我们可以吃火龙。
火龙，远古龙，
远古龙。He said, we can go get Elder Dragon. Nice. Yeah. Very game focused. I like that. My next question I want to ask is, what advice have maybe the seniors on PSG given to you? 就是 PSG 的老将选手有没有给你一些指示 advice 吗？PSG 베테랑 선수들이 지원 선수에게 준 어드바이스가 있다면 어떻게 있을까요?
没快打，
完了，凯文翻译一下，凯文。
我听不懂他说什么，没快打是什么？
빠르게 양파하지 말라는 걸. 만만 다투한.
慢慢打，就是打的不要这么急，就是可能
我知道慢慢打的意思，好吗？好，so he said that that his seniors on PSG told him like not to play team fights that fast and to like, you know, calm things down when they're going for the team fights. I also wanted to ask maybe who the friendliest senior on the PSG squad is, or whose relationship like are you closest to on the team? 那最后想问就是队友当中你跟谁的关系最好呢？会觉得谁人最好，还是说谁对你最好的选手会是谁呢？ 팀에서 가장 잘해준 좋아하는 선수가 있다면 누구인가요?
하나비 하나비.
아,
하나비火龙吗？
네, 호롱.
왜요？为什么？
우리我们的 J 팀
왜 이래?
화이트 J 팀 흔창 하나비.
왜 있어?
啊，他是说你们
我很
之
carry
前
吗？主办？
很 C 是吧？
你 carry.
哦，谢谢谢
很
谢，
C。
我知道我知道。
So he said that he's got to give that word to Hanabi because in yesterday's series with J Team, Hanabi was the one who carried their team the most. All right, thank you so much, Juhan. Next up, I want to ask Bae some questions. 네, 감사합니다. 다음 Bae 선수. 首先可以自我介绍吗? 자기소개 가능하신가요?
我 PCS 中路线杯
PSG
PSG
PSG 中路线杯。
很好那接下来想问，就是今天进了决赛，而且又是打一个国际的决赛，会感觉很紧张吗？Were you nervous playing in today's PCS finals today, since previously you were playing in the LCK Challenger Series? How did you feel? 오늘 PCS 결승전 지뢰 네. 하시면서
많이 또
많이 떨렸는데.
yes. 또.
He said that he of course felt very nervous today. 他说他是很紧张。那接下来想问，就是你觉得今天发挥的最好的选手会是谁呢？Who do you think performed the best in today's series?
네, ESKU who carry?
我们우리들我们캐리 我们 MVP.
我们누구라고 생각하신가요?
我们
누구?
팀.
Okay. Okay. 好谦虚 So he says that he didn't name any one particular player. He says that the team as a whole carried and the team played the best altogether. So I want to ask as well, if you had to give the MVP to someone for today, who would you give it to? 那如果是你选的话，今天的 MVP 你会给谁呢？而且为什么？ 그럼 오늘 MVP 누구라고 생각하신대요?
샤도 chen.
He said you would give it to
한 명은
네.
꼭 집어야 되나? 오케이. 카이윙.
Okay. So he said that he would give the MVP over to their bot line and to Unified. All right, thank you so much for the answers. Next up, I want to ask Unified a couple of questions. 接下来就是 ADC Unified 了，想问就是那天KaiWing说你最近变菜了，有什么感受呢？
真的菜啊，
反驳不了，说实话。
状态吧，
确实真的菜。
你要让他先说好吗？Unified 有什么感受想回复他们吗？
没有，就看状态啊。
So I asked Unified about what KaiWing said in the interview a couple of days ago about how he says that Unified lately, he thinks that Unified has become trash, and whether Unified has any thoughts. He said that Unified doesn't really have anything that he wants to say to justify himself. He said that it really depends on his own personal performance and how he plays that day. And that's what I want to ask you next, because we've noticed that your performance during playoffs was a bit inconsistent. So I want to ask ask what the reason for that is. Is it maybe because you feel pressure having to step up and put on a good performance for your teammates on champs such as Zaya? 那就是接下来想问就是关于 Unified 刚才所说的，就是要看状态。就最近例行赛的表现。跟季后赛的表现相比，就是能看得出来有些差距。想问，是不是季后赛玩那些大 AD 角的压力会比较大吗？还是其实是有什么其他的原因？
我觉得可能看角色吧，就是看那个熟练度，而且跟我们最近团内的对手都有点关系吧。就是感觉团内的对手都玩的比较急，所以我们在比赛中可能我们在比赛中也会玩的比较急一点。
So he said that actually he thinks why his performance varies really depends on the champions that he plays. He says that sometimes he doesn't have as good a performance. It's because he hasn't practiced that champion enough in solo queue. He said it also has to do with their recent scrim partners, because he feels that the recent LPL scrim partners, they play a lot faster and it makes him play a bit over aggressive in lane, especially early on. So he thinks that's also the reason as to why lately they've seemed to be making more mistakes. So my next question I want to ask Unified is that this year, once again, you're going to be heading to MSI as the PCS representatives. How is this year going to be different from last year? 那最后想问给Unified 选手的问题就是，今年又要出战 MSI， 跟去年相比会有什么不同呢？
不是又是第一次。
有点没去。
哦，对哦，那今年跟去年相比，今年终于可以去 MSI 了，有什么想法？
想法吗？
感受、想法，请说。
去，感受一下 T1 的下路吧。
还有吗？比如说期待去韩国之类的，有什么感受？
不知道说什么就说去韩国代购。
阳光一下。
去韩国输一输了。
这个太过分了。
So he said that because this is actually the first year that he's going to be able to go to MSI because of last year's issues. He said that he's actually looking forward to playing versus T1's bottom lane. Hanabi also wanted to say that, you know, if you don't know what to answer in an interview about going to Korea, just say that you're going to go there and go shop and buy stuff and bring it back home. And KaiWing also mentioned that, you know, they're just gonna go to Korea and maybe lose. They'll see. All right, so next I want to ask KaiWing a couple of questions. 接下来就是问给KaiWing选手了。KaiWing, hello.
Hello, 你好。
Yeah. So my first question, I feel like I ask you this every time we see you in the post-game interview, but how are you guys going to celebrate tonight? 感觉每个赛季都会问你这个问题，就是今晚打算怎样庆祝？
其实我今天还蛮肚子饿的，因为我可能打这种比赛的时候就不喜欢吃东西，所以可能等等会看看有什么好吃的吧，但绝对不会是麦当劳。
你的麦当劳到咯。
不会跟去年一样是麦当劳吧？ So he said that actually what he's feeling the most right now is he's feeling really hungry. He says that personally he doesn't really like to eat a lot on game days when he has competitions. So he says that, like, you know, earlier today we didn't really eat. So right now he's super hungry. He hasn't decided what he's going to eat yet, but it's not going to be like last year where the team had McDonald's. He said it won't be McDonald's this year that they're gonna go out to to eat. So my next question I want to ask, this is something that the casters and analysts mention a lot, especially during playoffs in this meta, about how Nautilus is so strong. A lot of the times when a support gets the MVP on Nautilus, they mention that it's not that the MVP is going to the support player, but it's just they're giving it over to Nautilus. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think you're personally unbeatable on the champion? 那想问就是直播赛品一直都有强调，就是诺蒂罗斯在这个版本很强，然后每次辅助拿到了 MVP， 他们都会说是给罗斯而不是给选手的一个 MVP。那你个人有什么想法吗？还是觉得诺蒂罗斯在你手中确实是无敌的？
其实基本上。那蒂鲁斯这英雄在我手上的话，其实很难输。输的话就是意外，是有意外才会输的，所以基本上，对我觉得其他辅助我不知道，但我拿的话，赢的话就应该是 MVP。
So he said that personally, he thinks that he's good on Nautilus. He thinks that in his hands, it's very hard for PSG to lose a game on Nautilus. He thinks that if they do lose a game when he's playing Nautilus, then something huge, some sort of shock or surprise must definitely have happened for them to drop the game. My next question I want to ask is, has it been hard to control Unified this playoffs? You mentioned in the interview last time that you need to go a bit overboard in trying to control him in lane. 那最后想问给凯源的就是这个季后赛会觉得很难控制 Unified 吗？之前在采访也有提过说，只有你最近需要更加离谱一点，怎么认为？
其实就是我跟Unified搭配蛮多年的吧，大家都知道，所以我是知道他的打法跟习惯，就是他可能对线呢，或是会战这种。但就是最近一两年的时候，就我看其他 LCK 或是 LPL 的比赛，就比如说Good Miles 啊、Viper 啊这种EU 的 Upset 或是 Lula 这种，就是看他们玩，就是他们的操作就是我觉得身为一个强的 AD， 我就跟Unified说，你要变成一个强的 AD， 你就必须要像他们这样子。所以我会很常去给他看，就是如果别的赛区的 AD 做了什么操作，我就告诉他，你可以去参考一下、学习一下。所以变成是，但Unified本来性格就不是这样子，Unified本来就是可能要先稳定看一下，然后观察一下，然后再去做。但我想跟他表达就是。如果你能做到，就是打得比较凶一点，对不对？然后我们的辅助跟打野都玩得比较顺，所以后面他是有跟着我去配合一下，但可能还是做回 Unified 更适合的。
他的 Unified。
Unified 有什么想回复的吗？还是没有？有吗？有去参考吗？
你以为你是 carry 啊 ，KaiWing？
你要往强的地方学习，谁强就是要学习谁。
So, KaiWing said that it's common knowledge by now to everyone that he and Unified have been playing together as a duo bot for so many years. He said that he has told Unified in the past that he needs to become a strong AD carry, that he needs to become a better player. What KaiWing does is a lot of the time he will look at VODs, he'll look at other games of the strong AD carry players from other regions. For example, he looks at VODs from Ruler, from Viper, from Gumayushi, and he looks at the way that they play, and then he tells Unified, like you should also take a look at these VODs so that you can kind of reference them and see what they're doing at which point in the game, and so you can improve yourself. So he says that he's always trying to get Unified to play a bit more aggressively. He thinks that people have noticed that in the recent games also, he's trying to tell Unified to go forward and be a bit more aggressive every so often. He said that he's been playing with Unified for so long, he does know what type of player that Unified is. He knows how Unified likes to play out lane. He knows where Unified likes to stand, what he likes it to do, but he thinks that for sure there is a lot that Unified can improve on. All right, thank you. My last question that I want to ask you guys before we go, of course, is what are your expectations and thoughts heading towards MSI as the PCS representatives? 那最后一个问题想问的，当然就是问给大家，就是关于前往 MSI， 大家的感受会是如何呢？会有什么期望？自由发挥。
这是第几次啊？1、2、3，第4次去 NS2 嘛，希望这次就可以突破4强吧，进冠亚。
其他人呢？
合理，需要突破。
Okay, so Hanabi said that I think this is his 4th time heading towards MSI, and he hopes that this year will finally be the year that he can break the top 4 curse. He hopes that this year they will finally be able to make it into the MSI final. All right, thank you guys so much for the interview. 那今天的赛后访问就到此为止。再次恭喜 PSG 战队获得今年 PCS 春季赛的冠军！祝 PSG MSI 加油，为 PCS 赛区争光！ Huge congrats to PSG, our newly crowned Pacific Championship Series Spring Split 2022 champions. All the best at MSI. 接下来就是主播台咯。
好了，我先去捧杯了。
我的杯呢？我要